Your phone buzzes. You assume it is another notification showing highlights of England putting 6 past France in the World Cup third place playoff. Instead, it is something even rarer in Britain. Price reduced by £10,000. It is a modest 2-bedroom terrace in outer Greater Manchester, around 35 minutes from the city centre by tram or train, on a good day, and longer whenever the app says minor delays. It has a small garden, a dining area, and a kitchen last updated when people rented DVDs. The price is £200,000. It feels possible. Then comes the calculator. Your salary is £40,000. It sounds respectable, but in 2026, what can it actually buy? The latest official UK House Price Index puts the average home at £270,000. The North East averages at £163,000 and London nearly at £553,000. Manchester itself averages at £247,000, while a terrace averages at £250,000. Because this property is farther out in Greater Manchester, the lower price is realistic, but £200,000 would still be a genuinely good find. You open a mortgage calculator, type in your £40,000 salary, and multiply it by 4.5. Why 4.5? Because government-backed Money Helper says lenders typically cap mortgage borrowing at around 4.5 times annual income, although many applicants are offered less. They also examine debts, childcare, spending and job security. So 4.5 is a guide, not a promise. On a £40,000 salary, a lender might offer around £180,000, assuming a 10% deposit, which is a common benchmark, although some mortgages accept as little as 5%. You would add £20,000, giving you an estimated budget of £200,000. The listing now fits, provided offers over does not mean abandon all financial discipline by Tuesday. At an illustrative 5% interest rate over 30 years, a £180,000 repayment mortgage costs about £966 a month. That is before council tax, insurance and repairs. Your partner earns approximately £30,000. On that income alone, 4.5 times salary suggests a £135,000 mortgage. With a £15,000 deposit, the individual budget is around £150,000. That sits below even the North East average. Location is no longer a preference, it is the plan. Together, however, you earn £70,000. At 4.5 times your combined income, the estimated mortgage becomes £315,000. Add a £35,000 deposit, and your buying budget reaches £350,000. Romance in Britain now includes discussing mortgage multiples over a takeaway and checking who ordered the extra chips. Perhaps buying alone can wait. After a few promotions, maybe your salary eventually reaches £60,000. However, the fear is that by then the same house costs twice as much, keeps its 1990s kitchen, and becomes ideal for modern living. But assuming house prices have not raced ahead faster than petrol on a motorway forecourt, a £60,000 salary changes the calculation. At 4.5 times income, your estimated mortgage becomes £270,000. Add a £30,000 deposit, and your total buying budget reaches £300,000. You can now compete around the UK average, and the alerts begin showing actual houses rather than parking spaces with development potential. But there is a catch. A £270,000 mortgage at an illustrative 5% over 30 years costs about £1,449 a month. The lender sees £60,000 gross. You live on what remains after tax, national insurance, pension contributions, commuting, and the supermarket trip where one bag costs £38 but contains no meals. At £100,000, your estimated mortgage reaches £450,000. Add 50,000 and your budget becomes £500,000. Across most of Britain, that brings choice. In London, it remains below the city average. There is a tax catch. In 2026 to 27, the £12,570 personal allowance reduces above 100,000 and disappears at 125,140. So gross pay can rise faster than take-home pay. Now return to you and your partner, armed with a £350,000 budget. After months of viewings, you return to the £200,000 terrace in outer Greater Manchester. It is well below your maximum, leaving more room for repairs, bills, savings, and the occasional expense that appears 5 minutes after you collect the keys. This means having a £350,000 budget does not mean you need to spend £350,000. Your offer is accepted. You mentally place the sofa and believe the difficult part is over. Then you remember the agent mentioning additional buying costs as casually as a longer walk to the station. You Google, what other fees do you pay when buying a house in the UK? That is when the second house price appears. On a £350,000 home in England or Northern Ireland, two eligible first-time buyers pay £2,500 in stamp duty. A standard home mover pays £7,500. An additional property buyer usually pays £25,000. Before you choose a sofa, the tax office may have chosen one for itself. Stamp duty is only the headline. Money Helper says fees can exceed £5,000 before the deposit and property tax, including legal work, searches, a survey, mortgage fees, and removals. So your £35,000 deposit may not mean you need £35,000. Your upfront total could easily move beyond £42,000. You thought the deposit completed the game. The property market says you finished only the tutorial. This is why the lender's maximum should never automatically become your budget. A 30% housing cost guideline can be a useful warning light, not a government rule. Compare it with the mortgage, council tax, insurance, service charges, and maintenance. On £40,000, gross monthly income is about £3,333. 30% is roughly £1,000. A £966 mortgage almost uses it all before other housing bills arrive. The bank might approve it. Your current account might request an urgent meeting. Mortgage payments are not frozen forever. Fixed deals end, rates change, incomes fall, and roofs choose Christmas morning to become indoor water features. A longer term can also be deceptive. Stretching from 30 to 40 years lowers the monthly payment but may add tens of thousands in interest. A lifetime ISAR can help. Save £4,000 a year and receive a 25% bonus, up to £1,000. The home must cost £450,000 or less, and you must wait 12 months after your first payment. So here is the easy version to remember. Your salary sets the starting point. Your deposit extends the budget. Your postcode decides whether the search feels realistic. £30,000 means narrow choices. £40,000 may work in cheaper areas. £60,000 opens more of Britain. £100,000 is powerful, although London can still humble it. But never confuse the bank's maximum with your comfortable maximum. If the house only works when nothing goes wrong, it does not really work. The best home is not the biggest one the bank lets you buy. It is the one you can still enjoy when the keys arrive, the direct debits begin, and the boiler makes its first suspicious noise. Thanks for watching.